So it is Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service. I haven't been on for a long time, but I think that already you might suspect why that has been. That's right. I cannot get my program, my software to work correctly, and I don't do enough to pay for a professional version of the software. So with that said, we're going to be looking at software I did pay good money for, and you just won't see my face. So I do apologize. I'm going to still be able to do everything I want to do. I'm just going to have to do it from the background, which might be better for me. In any event, I want to start by saying that, let me show you here on this. We're going to do a few things with this chart. We're going to talk about some of the trans-Neptunians that have been affecting us really deeply. And the thing about trans-Neptunians are they move extremely slowly. And because of them, what is going on right now is it's pretty interesting. It's pretty tough, actually. And it's going to be going on for a while. So I wanted to come on, and it's interesting because somebody actually mentioned I should come on and talk and do something, but I was actually going to do it because of how bad things are. And I'm not just referring to the political dilemma that we are now looking at. Put that aside for a minute, and let's look at this chart from a very personal perspective, okay? Because right now people are having other issues beside that. Of course, other issues that could be exasperated by that, but that's a whole other thing. I do believe that there are a lot of medical issues going on right now. I believe that there are a lot of relationship issues going on right now. And I can also tell you that there's probably a lot of job scenarios going on right now where people are, and I'm going to use this word, disillusioned. Because it really fits. And I'll explain to you why here on the chart. The disillusion with life can happen whether it's a relationship that failed or your health is failing or a system that you depended on is failing. And it really gives this sense of disillusionment, which I think is going to be going on. The delusion thing is going to be going on for some time. And let's talk about what this all means and how we got here, okay? So first of all, with regards to what's going on right now, I'd like to start by saying that nowhere in history for 70,000 years have we ever been in a place like this. We haven't. We have never been here before. The closest that we can get to what happened, what we're going through, and what happened in the past, because that's how astrologers get their information. They get it from things that have already happened in the past. Well, we've never had this. We had something fairly close, but they took 20 years to get through it. They took from 1520 to 1540 to get through what we're going to be getting through literally in about a year or less. So it's going to be a little hair-raising, and it's going to cause there is already a lot of smoke screen. So, we're going into some more difficult times, and I'm saying that not because we can't still live our own lives and find our own joy and do all of that, but I think that there is a general, huge restructuring taking place in the world that is, as all growing experiences, going to be very difficult. It's the human condition. We tend to learn the most from, I hate to say it, bad stuff. And so we're going to be going through a period where there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Now, the planets that I'm referring to, and I definitely want to talk about, are Neptune, which right now affects the midheaven, the Pluto, the Uranus, and the Moon of this chart, okay? And has been pointed out to me in a class that I take, the Uranus-Pluto to Neptune thing is going to be going on for a really, really long time. Okay, long meaning a year, okay? It's going to stay with that Neptune until it crosses that place. It doesn't even cross until the end of March, okay? So we're going to have a long sojourn of changes which will really lead to major transformations. It refers to mutations, to jump, to leap. So things are going to drastically change in ways that we won't see coming, or we won't see with Neptune. You can see where it's pointing. Neptune is one of the things I want to talk about today. It is, it represents things like deception. It represents delusion, and it represents things like alcohol and drugs. And it can also, so that's the dark side. So, you know, it's deception all over the place. And I want to point out, while we're looking at this, that you know, that this is also happening, okay, that Poseidon is also equaling the Aries point of this chart. So now you've got Neptune with the midheaven, you've got Poseidon with the ascendant, and by the way, people, this is the world. And let me show you something. If I go to the world point, I'll do any one of them, there's 4 on this particular dial, you'll notice there's a node Neptune, but look at Poseidon, look at Zeus. Let's talk about that for just a minute, okay? So Neptune, we'll start there, is on the bad side. It is a lot of delusion. And I'm talking self-deluded, okay? I definitely know that this particular place that we're at right now is we are deluded. We've been deluded. What deluded us? Okay, right here. Poseidon. Okay, so let's go through. We did a little bit of Neptune on the dark side, and then we'll do the light side of both of these, because astrology is not all good or all bad. I want to talk about the bad first, only because I can end with the good, but also because I know so many people are going through really, really horrible things right now. Okay? Horrible. It's hard for some people to get up and go to work right now. It's hard for people to take care of themselves right now. Depressions are probably off the charts. Okay? That's from the people who kind of think they know what's going on. The people who are totally and absolutely deluded, this process will encompass you eventually. Just sorry, just that's the way it is. Okay? One thing about astrology, it doesn't have any emotions. And that's been really hard for me as an astrologer right now, because I am personally being smacked like you can't believe with everything going on, because I am personally affected. One of my personal points sits right there. So, and anybody who has personal points that sit in the Aries point right now, God love you. That's all I have to say. And there are a number. Poseidon itself, which is this down here, and you can see the dot, which tells you it's active, relates to illumination that brings about enlightenment when it is grounded in reality. Then it can be a positive energy. And it can represent things like enlightenment and wisdom, transparency, and higher consciousness. But what it represents is truth. It represents ethics and morals. And it gives clarity and transparency, which ultimately leads to inner wisdom and inspiration. Okay? But it has a dark side. And the dark side is propaganda, media, mass communication, where ideas are being pushed at us, such as gaslighting. It's an energy that can be spiritual, but it's also extremely gullible. No energy is all good or all bad, though we think of this one as a good one. It can also help delude us and lead us astray. Ideas tend not to be what they appear to be. And the guarantee, because there's no guarantee of honesty with the propaganda. You're not getting honesty, you're getting propaganda. But the good news is, if there's any dishonesty, it'll come to the forefront eventually. And I think it will. You know, when you're deluded or duped, okay, eventually, yeah. Once you're screwed, there's your enlightenment. So let's talk about that. Okay, so even if you're suckered into something, it does help reveal the error of your ways. So let's go back to Neptune, which right now is no Neptune. Okay, but Neptune is hanging around this Aries point. It'll be here March 30th. It actually hits, moves on. So yeah, it's here. It's here. Now, Neptune can be spiritual, it can even be creative, but it's extremely deceptive. There's a desire to see things the way you want to see it. You'll surround yourself with only those who tell you what you want to hear. It's the smoke screen. That's the biggest keyword I can use here. Religion is also an energy that can be related to Neptune, but I think of Neptune as more spiritual, and Neptune and religion itself as the Jupiter quality. Now, because of the righteousness of the religious sect. But Neptune fits it because very often religious people are very deluded. Not always. So if you're someone who's highly religious, and I have been involved with other spiritual people who, in my opinion, are extremely spiritual, and they do belong to a religion, but they're not what I call deep-end Christians who are so righteous that they don't understand, they're not even following what their initial religion is supposed to be about, okay, which is generally love. But when you're suppressing people and you're acting all righteous, then I don't know that that's love. But that's just me. And that's just something to think about when you're dealing with energies such as Neptune. We're always reminded things are never positive or negative. That the empathy and compassion that result from Neptune energy can be extremely positive. As a matter of fact, if you're doing something for somebody else, that might be the best way to handle the Neptune energy. If your intention is about helping those who are less fortunate, standing up for the little guy, then you're using the energy to the best of the highest of its intention. It's also amazing for art and music because Neptune can be very inspirational. Though we can feel inspired, we have to also realize that doesn't make it good or bad. Because you can be inspired to do bad things. Ask a schizophrenic. Ask a sociopath. Okay, perhaps the Neptune energy, by the way, it's also associated with illness. Okay, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Perhaps one of the toughest energies, in my opinion, to understand is Neptune. It's elusive and it's fleeting. Okay, not fleeting in that it lasts a long time, but fleeting is that when you're going through things, that's when people come and go, or when you are deluded to believe that somebody is something that they are not. And so, again, tenuous, coming and going. Okay. Now, that energy has been and is going to be around us for a while. Now, the propaganda machine, that's been running a really, really long time. But Neptune's been in Pisces a really long time. And it's kind of interesting that Saturn, which asks you to how do I put this? Saturn is your task maker, so it's asking you to do the work, to toe the line, to follow the rules, to be a part of this whatever system. And Saturn has been coming to this Neptune, and it will cross with Neptune at the same time. Okay? I want to note right now that Saturn, as of this particular right here, and you can't see it because normally it would be red, it had just turned black because it is no longer retrograde, it is stationed. And I could show you that in a different chart, but I'm really afraid because I lost 3 videos already trying to do this because of the machine not working well. The program, I don't know what happened, but it doesn't work right. But let me tell you that this Saturn, which is in Pisces, and this is Aries, so that you can see this. Now I'm going to try this, and hopefully it works. But there it is. Saturn still doesn't have an S on it, I noticed, but it is stationed. Okay? So that is a station point. It's going to actually cross into the Aries point, okay, the same time as Neptune. And you can see this, the moon is off of the ascendant and the sun off the midheaven. Isn't it interesting that I showed you how the sun on the 360 dial was affecting the midheaven, and so not descendant but midheaven, and the was forming midpoints, and how the ascendant was forming midpoints with the moon. So wanted to show you that. Hopefully that took. So staying with the 360, because that's where we're going to be for most of the time, I want to talk about a little bit about what does it mean when Saturn stations, which will happen on the 15th. Now I want to make a note here. Saturn is stationing in Pisces for the very last time on the November 15th. Around the 16th, 17th, Pluto is going to go into Aquarius for real, that's it, okay, for the next 30 years or something. So it's or 20 years, it's a long time. And then you have Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries on the end of March, and so when Neptune stations on December 6th, it will be its final station. It moves on, and then by April 1st, I believe, everything is in Aries and at Aries, and it's on the official point, and this does represent change. Huge, huge change. With that change, and I mean a lot of things are going to change, so I don't even want to speculate what we're going to go through, how it's going to turn out. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to say we're going to go through stuff. And I think that Saturn, the station, is going to tell you, I mean, and look at this, guys. I mean, plans can fall apart when it stations. Or you find out that something needs to be changed, that it's just not going to work the way that you thought. It turns out maybe that support isn't available. There could be control issues that suddenly rear up between people that are working on things. It's just, it's like somebody described it. I was doing a little research on the internet. I should have written this down because it was kind of good. It's like waking up from a surgery. You know that the surgery went well, but you're still groggy and you're in pain. Okay? Plans will fall apart because what it represents when Saturn goes, and we go through this a lot, but this is something that we don't talk about a lot, which is that plans tend to fall apart because this is when karma will show and rear its ugly head. Okay? And there it is. All right? So let's just, because I have the software, let's look at it. So the good news is Saturn in this particular picture is showing, let's look at it. Venus, I would suggest you watch your money. Okay? Moon ascendant, not real strong, not real good, but I would say to you, check your emotions, do what makes you happy, and if you're a woman, maybe you want to learn, how to take care of yourself better. I made a joke to somebody, said maybe this is the time women have to learn to fight, for real, like, kickboxing and boxing and things of that nature. So look out for that. Look at this. Now, because what I'm looking at is they're not midpoints, but they are close. Okay? And the Poseidon Sun is that one of the things that may not be working is that the information that we had been getting about whatever it was may not be what it should be. And we can take that any way you want. Okay? I think a lot of people, in some cases, will feel misled and look at that toward emotions. But here's what I really want you to see. Okay? Really, really important. Look at that midheaven. Directly squaring, half squaring. That's a half square. It's half squaring and then a semi here. But look at that, midheaven and Venus. Well, money's going to be an issue, guys. Okay? So please watch your spending. Watch what you say to other people. Kindness will be important. And as always, please take care of yourself when you see things like this. So I wanted to go through that. The other thing that I haven't spoken about yet is kind of what triggers all of this. What triggered all of this? So let me go show you something here. Okay, so I'm back at one of the Aries points. Look at that Vulcanus, Uranus. We're being forced to change here, people. This is pressure to change. Now everybody goes, oh, they want change. They want change. Do you want change? Do you? And what kind of change do you want? This is the stuff we need to think about, people. We really, really need to think about it. Okay? Because in the end, it is going to come down to us. It really is. So, and I'm not talking about, votes and elections and crap like that. No. It comes down to us. Even those things do. But no matter what they do, if we stand against it, it makes it difficult for them to do it. So it does always come down to us. If you're the one going through a health issue, all decisions come down to you. If you're the one in a relationship issue, all decisions come down to you. If you're in a work decision, which might be the hardest, ironically. Health is tough too, but if you're in a work situation, you got to think about your options. And you got to open up when you do that. Okay, so I'm back at the Aries point. I want to point out a few things. See how this Zeus is rather close to this little dot, okay, which means it was sitting in the Aries point for a while. It's moving on. It's still an aspect. And I want to point out that Zeus is really influencing a lot of what's going on. And its keywords would be power, leadership, masculinity, guns, explosives, war, seeds, drive, and energy. Okay, and what I mean by energy is like the kind of energy that's like you work on a long-term goal and you have the energy to see that goal all the way through. Well, we lived through a lot of that and we didn't realize it because of Neptune and because of Poseidon. And now because some, and this can be in, there's an inflammation somewhere. There is a source of, I want to say itch that had to be scratched that wasn't scratched, or it wasn't taken care of, or it hasn't been taken care of, or it isn't. So it has led to everything that we are right now. And that includes the wars, people. That includes our wars. So it's funny, that we're going to be going into so much change, and it was triggered by guns and war. Okay? And I know that's not going to make people feel really warm and fuzzy, but I do want to say that there is healing. Okay, I know it sounds really weird. There is healing and there will be transformation. But again, a lot of it depends on us. And it's not us, stay in your communities, get a lot of support, do that. But it depends on us. Are we the kind of people who will kill other people? Are we the kind of people who will put other people out of jobs? Are we the kind of people who want to see more strife in the world, more disease in the world? I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't. And I think we have to stick to our guns on that. I think a rude awakening is coming, people. A very big, rude awakening is coming. And I only hope that we handle it well and that we can, how do I put this? That we really can become something better. Okay? And I'm not just talking country. You got to think about this. Country is not as important as the individual, because the individual makes up the country. And if the individual is unhealthy on any level, then we owe it to become the spiritual side of Poseidon and Neptune. And we owe it to become more compassionate, more empathetic, more inclusive, and most importantly, more knowledgeable about the truth. What is the truth? I think that's going to be really important moving forward. I think we don't put enough emphasis on things like the truth. So once again, just to reiterate, when we move to the sun, we pull up, here we go again, the Vulcanus to Saturn. And honestly, that right there, that Vulcanus to Saturn is to be on guard duty. Literally, mighty obstructions, vigilance, to guard and watch, to take care, to fix, to fortify, to banish, to exile, to make things permanent. Look at that. Okay? It's exact, guys. That's what the red line means. And it's real. Okay? It's real. This is what we have to do. Look at where it comes. Mercury. We're going to be finding out a lot of things. Vesta. We have to stay diligent to the course. We have to stay focused to what it is we as individuals want to make us happy, to what are our goals, what our goals are. Okay? And that might change because Uranus and the moon are running together. Okay? And look at how Uranus and the moon bring in that node and Chronos with Hades. Okay? We're going to rebel, people. We aren't going to. When we find out truth and things begin to come to a head, we'll stand up for each other. We will. We'll stand up against authorities, whether they be in the government or at work or in our neighborhood, or that we will stand up to the bullies and we will stand up to Look at this. Bad leadership. Okay? Whether it's at work or at home. Now, the other thing I want to talk about just really quickly is that, if you're a medical situation, and we've got a lot of those. I'm at the age where, I get news every day just about that's devastating to me when it relates to someone's health. And I can tell you that Hades Kronos, though it is bad leaders and it is corruption at the highest levels, and there is, again, we have to stand up for ourselves because we cannot depend on our leaders to do it. And one of the things that I see here, though, is medical breakthroughs. And I think that they will come sudden, and I think that they will be good, and I think